Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Thought we'd do another video on another piece of equipment that I've recently got. I decided to go out and buy a resin 3D printer. It's my first ever 3D printer I've had. I've not had a filament one. I did a lot of research to make sure I was getting the right one for me. I saw that the filament ones were cheaper, but they didn't give you as good quality. I didn't want to buy something that instantly, as soon as I got it, I was disappointed. So I thought I'll just go out and get the resin one straight away. Okay, right, so the three reasons I decided to get a resin printer. One was they're not too badly priced now. I think I got this one for just over £230, I believe it was. I managed to buy it because I upgraded my phone and I sold my old phone. The second reason is the quality of them. I'm actually blown away by how great the quality is on this little printer. And the third reason is that you don't have to put it together. The filament ones I've seen, you have to have, it just comes a box of pieces, and I couldn't be bothered with it, to be honest. And I've got a bit of time on my hands at the moment because we're not really going out, but I thought I just want to be able to plug it in, turn it on and play. Okay, right, so it turned up about a week ago, I think it was. I printed off the standard chest piece tests. I've printed off a couple of other things since. I know there's a bit of a steep learning curve with it. I've had a couple of failed prints, but that's mainly down to me learning. I wasn't being ignorant with it at all. I've set it up properly. But yeah, I'm getting to the point now where things are printing brilliantly. I haven't had a failed print in about 4 days. I'm on my second bottle of resin now, which shows you I'm printing quite a lot. I have learnt a couple of things that they don't describe in a manual, and I've not really seen many tutorials tell you about it. I've had to learn off my own kind of use of it. First one being is, every time I used the printer, I filled it up with resin, printed, and I emptied the resin vat at the bottom. You don't have to do that. You put resin in it, as long as that cover stays on, the orange or the red one, depending on what one you get, you don't have to take out the resin all the time. Massive time saver. It was becoming an absolute ball ache, taking that resin out, filtering it, putting it back. Oh, I think I want to print something else, so you have to take it back in, put it in, clean all the vat out. It's fine, don't do it. You only need to do it when there's a failed print, because sometimes it gets stuck to the plastic at the bottom of the vat. Apart from that, just leave it. I'm not saying leave it in there forever. I'm just saying if you're going to leave it for a prolonged period of time without printing, take it out. But if not, just leave it in there. Okay, right, second thing is, when you set up the printer, make sure it's level. That helps the vat of resin sit level on the base. Then you have to go through your calibration. I'm generally the kind of person that doesn't do stuff like that. I like to just set it up, push play and watch it go. But I made sure this time I got a little spirit level out. I made sure that it was fully level, adjusted all the feet, just to kind of make sure that I wasn't going to get anything that failed. Okay, right, so when you get the printer, you get two scrapers, metal one and a plastic one. I've watched people on YouTube using this one to get their models off their base plate. It doesn't work. You'll end up breaking this within seconds. Use the metal one. As you can see, it's kind of got like a knife, a sharp edge one side when it's flat the other. All you do is, once you've got your model on your base plate, just get that flat edge to the base plate, pop it under a corner and just slowly move the corner away so it just lifts. And you get the knife underneath it. As soon as that knife's underneath it, it will come straight off. There's none of this chipping away hard. Just grab it, put it under the corner of the base plate and just lift tiny little bits like that until it just gets off the base plate, and then just slide your knife under and then you can take it out. This one is to remove any foul prints from the base in the vat. Because it's only like a really thin plastic film, use this to just, they are annoying to remove, but if they're stuck to it, you kind of do have to just pick away at them. You will eventually have to replace the plastic in the bottom of your vat. I know I'm going to have to, but there's loads of tutorials out there and it's about a tenner for a sheet, so it's not too bad. I've had a couple of failed prints that have stuck to the base plate, of which have caused me a bit of a headache, but you learn, you have to. So you have to drain the base plate, pick it off, filter the resin back into the bottle, taking out any bits of plastic that's solid but not liquid, and then you fill it back up after cleaning it. Okay, right, what else we got? Okay, right. So the resin I use is the Elegoo 3D printing, grey, standard resin, 500 grams. I think I get that off of Amazon for about £20 or £22. I've got half a bottle left. I've used up a bottle, but there is some in my vat waiting to be printed. With the resins, I have learned online that the colour of your resin is a factor with how long your prints take. So the light grey, I believe, is the shortest. Something like black will take like an extra 25% curing time. So each layer of mine, I think it's about 6 or 8 seconds. With black, it's like 14 seconds. Obviously, it takes longer for the light to cure it. So please be careful when you're using resin or ordering resin. If you're only going to paint your models anyway, and it doesn't have to be a specific colour, I would always go for the one with the quickest curing time. So yeah, that's definitely something to think about. Like, I will only ever use this resin, to be honest. So I'm planning to paint all the stuff that I've got anyway. Okay, right, so next pointer. This was actually quite a big one. It's small, but a big one. When I was using my printer, when I first used it, switch it on, the fan goes. It's like a bloody turbo engine. And as soon as you turn it on, it goes. You leave it, once your print's finished, it carries on. You can download an edited firmware off of the internet. Or actually, no, there's tutorials of how to edit your own firmware. Your USB stick that comes with the printer has a copy of the firmware on it. Go in, you edit one number on this, and then the fan only kicks in when the print is working, which is brilliant. Like, if you want to leave it overnight printing, the fan isn't going to continuously go once the print finishes. And it's also a very good indicator of knowing when your prints have finished, because mine's set up just there in my front room, and I do hear it, but obviously I put it on, it's like 3 or 4 hours, 5 hours to print something. I go off doing other stuff. I'm either working or playing with the baby or doing housework stuff around the house. If I hear that fan stopped, I know my print's finished. Rather than going back every 5 seconds to check it, that fan stops, it's stopped. Okay, last one is with the software that you use, Shitubox, don't always trust the auto supports. I did on a few of my models and they come out fine, there's no problems. But then there are the odd occasions where they don't work as well. I've had a couple of models fail where I've printed a Warhammer figure and one of the arms didn't have support underneath it, and then it kind of just flapped up, but then clogged up my resin vat, so I had to clean it all out. So you're better off taking an extra 5 minutes in the software, fixing it, rather than having to wait 4 hours, fail print, then clean it all out and starting again. So pay the extra attention to that and it will save you in the long run. Okay, right, so I'm now going to show you a couple of the printouts that I've done over the last couple of days. Right, so this was my 3rd ever print, which is a little Star Wars ATST. I have painted it. I've got a new airbrush, so I was testing it out on this. This was printed in one piece. It was printed laying down like that. There is quite a lot of support structure on the back, so I had to sand that off. But as you can see, I can't even get that focus, there we go. So the detail on it is amazing. What I'm going to do in a minute, I'm going to do a bit of a close-up on the models with a macro lens so you can see. But as you can see, that one's come out really well. It actually stands as well, which is quite good. Okay, right. So another thing I wanted some skulls for my Black Series photography. So I printed out loads of resin skulls. I had to resize these. I Got my tape measure out, measured a couple of the action figure heads, so I got these the right size. But I've printed off I think 10 of them now, sprayed them white undercoat first, and then with like a skin and white colour just to kind of weather them a little bit. They've all got a blank spot underneath where I had some blue tack stuck to them, but they have come out really well. The detail on those is amazing. So those are going to be really good for some photography. Okay, I also printed off some Star Wars stuff. Same kind of thing with the skulls, some Stormtrooper helmets, some old school Stormtrooper helmets. I haven't painted this is just an undercoat, just to see how they come out. A couple of these printed out okay, a couple of them didn't. A couple of them got stuck on this little edge of the helmet here, which meant it kind of flaked off a bit. This was one of the first models I printed after the test piece, and that's a little Mandalorian. Again, one piece, come out really well. There is quite a lot of support structure on it, but I think it come out really well. That's just been primed. I'm going to paint that after. Okay, right, so these, actually, this was the first ATST I printed. As you can see, that is tiny. The detail on that is brilliant. I did mess up. When I was taking it off the support structure, both legs fell off. I've glued them on the wrong bloody legs. So as you can see, they've got the arms that are meant to be stuck to the body on the outside. But to be honest, you're probably not going to notice that straight away. But that is tiny. The detail on it is brilliant. A couple of things didn't print out, mainly because they'd have been too thin. But again, stands up. Oh, well, it did before the legs broke off. No, okay, doesn't stand up. Okay, right, the next three that I printed, again, Star Wars themed. A couple of these have been painted, one of them hasn't. R2-D2, Ewok, and I can't do it. So C-3PO, I've painted that. Gold, we've got R2-D2 with the world's worst paint job. I'd had a few drinks when I'd done that one, to be fair. But it's come out really well. And then we've got the Ewok, which I haven't painted yet because I'm waiting for some brown spray coming. But as you can see, see all of these little bits of fur. It's really good detail. The top of his stick did fall off. I think there was a couple of balls on the top of it, but you don't really notice it because it's not there. Warhammer figures. Recently just started getting back into Warhammer. Ignore the crappy paint job. I was just testing out a new airbrush set that I got. So there we go, it's a Warhammer set, printed all in one piece, come out really well, nice detail, just ignore the paint job. And then the one that actually printed last night was that is 15 or 16 separate pieces. It was a bit of a fiddle, mainly because there was so much support structure. I actually used auto support on this one, but I've recently changed my settings. I'm not going to show you the settings just because there are many other videos out there and I just copied one of those videos. But support structures come out really well. There was a couple of issues. One of the arms, one of the spikes fell off on his arm here, glued that back on. This arm fell off completely as I was putting it together because the pin that supports them, that fell off, so I glued that. I didn't put the flag on top and I haven't put the knee braces on. Just because I want to paint it a particular way and those will make it look odd. Okay, right, so here's a couple of examples, right, so that printed out in 2 sessions. So I had to do it to try and fit as much on, actually if I move that over to that screen you might be able to see it a bit better. There you go, so as you can see on there's 11 separate pieces. So you've got the back, the arms, the chest pieces, the centre, the 2 legs, support, like knee brace kind of things, one hand. And then on the other one, not that one, that one. So there you go, there's all the other pieces. I'm actually regretting printing this flag now, mainly because I'm not going to use it, and that's what took the time. As you can see, it goes up quite high. I did break off this bit as I was taking the supports off, but it's quite a clean break that could easily be super glued. Everything else I used. But as you can see, so all printed off really well. I used also supports. I modified a couple of the supports that I wasn't happy with, but I just went through, just to make sure everything was okay. Both models were hollow, with some support structure inside, but they're not huge, so there aren't much. I didn't have to create any holes to let the resin out or anything like that. Okay, right, so they've come out quite well. My latest model that I'm going to be doing, this is the model that I've tried printing 2 times now. It's Han Solo in carbonite. I want this for a Black Series photos session that I want to do. I downloaded this off Thingiverse, I think it was. I put it into Tinkercad, cut it in half, stood 2 sides next to each other so I can print them both at the same time. But both times it's failed. And both times it's my fault because I didn't know too much about 3D printing then, so I didn't know about the support structures very well. I used light supports when I should use heavies. I didn't put a hole in the bottom to allow for any drainage. So this afternoon, that is what I'm going to be printing. A couple of great websites that I use. So Thingiverse is amazing. So as you can see, that is what we printed this morning. Okay, another one is My Mini Factory. When you go on here, there are a lot of paid models, but if you just select Store and then go through Refine and just click any free objects, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of different things that you can download and print. This is where I'm getting majority of my stuff from at the moment, but it's brilliant. And then what you can do, there's an app called Tinkercad where you can actually put, as long as they're under 25 meg, you can put these models into Tinkercad and you can modify them. Like with this is a headphone bracket that I'm going to be printing the next day or so. I put it in Tinkercad and I've put the word headphones across the top. That is because I keep on having to hang my headphones over the corner of this shelf and I actually want to hang them here. So that is just going to print off, screw underneath there with my headphones hung on it. Again, it would have been the thing I'd have paid a £5 for on eBay, but it would cost me about £1 in resin and it would take about 4 hours to do. So yeah, that's going to be another one that's going to be printed this afternoon. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take up some close-up shots of my printouts, and I'm going to carry on printing. I love it. I think it's a great idea. It's really useful to have. The most useful thing I've printed with it is my wife has got a Vauxhall Mocha and the parcel shelf clips are broke. So I've, on Thingiverse, if you type in Vauxhall Mocha, have I got the thing here? Yeah, I have. Vauxhall Mocha, it comes up with the parcel shelf clips. So it's obviously a common fault. I printed them out, didn't have to resize them or anything. To be honest, because there's nothing there, I didn't have anything to be able to resize them against. So I printed them out and they fitted perfectly. I put a bit of support structure in there. I think I could have got away with printing them on the bed without the support structure, but I didn't want any risk of warping when they kind of cured. So yeah, printed off 2 clips, went down to the parcel shelf, clipped them in both sides, all the holes fitted perfectly. I did break one when I was putting it on because I'm just a heavy-handed klutz. So as I put it on, I smashed it down onto the pin, it's broke one in half, so I've got to print out another one. But now I know, I'm just going to, actually I think I'm going to put them into Tinkercad first and see what I can do about thickening this here. Because that's where it broke along that joint there. It's obviously a weak point because there's not much material. But if not, I'll just be more careful when I'm putting it together. So yeah, really useful thing, a 3D printer. I know they're coming down more and more in value as the quality goes up, which is brilliant. I would have it running now, but the fan is quite noisy and I don't want it affecting the sound on this video. So yeah, I really recommend one if you can get one, guys. I know they're not the cheapest of things, but they are coming down in quality, especially if you're into Warhammer and stuff. We've just recently bought Warhammer Kill Team, and the amount of scenery and stuff in that, but I know I'm going to be able to add to it as we play. So I've got a couple of plans with some damaged planes and stuff that are going to go into the scenery that I'll have to start working on in the next few days. So yeah, I definitely recommend one, guys. Keep an eye out on the channel. I'm going to be keeping updates with any new little things I find or do. So yeah, I'm going to end the video now with some close-up videos of the stuff that I've already printed. If you have any questions, guys, just leave them in the comments below. I'll find out either the answer if I don't know, or I'll try and point you in the right direction. But yeah, definitely recommend one. Thanks for watching. Thank you.